you're supposed to be an independent woman.
I
Like,
don't know.
how do you be independent?
I'm over it. I don't like.
How do you do it?
Send help. Send help.
Smoke sick, but you
Look,
know what?
I'm gonna shut up and listen. I'm not gonna talk bad.
But
Just
you know what?
come
She said
help.
Welcome to the Real Refined Podcast, where faith and the mind meet. I'm your host, Bree, and I'm your host, Tiara. Tap in.
Welcome back, Real Refined fam. We are back with another one.
Another one.
I'm so proud of you, friend, because you looked at the camera this time.
I was trying to find.
We have some beautiful, amazing guests on set. I'm going to introduce the topic, and T is going to introduce our guests. So have y'all ever been in a place where you've lost yourself? I know we talked about identity crisis, but this is not that conversation. But you've lost yourself as a wife, as a mother, even as a single person, that you've just feeling like you just don't know who you are. You don't know what you like anymore. You don't know, kind of similar to what we talked about when we had Ciji talking about identity crisis. You're just lost and you don't feel the sense of wholeness that you are supposed to feel. And there's like this kind of little void there and sometimes we feel it with the wrong things, but we'll talk about it. But that's what we're talking about today. Just what it looks like to just feel completely lost and how do we come back? So, what's up, T?
Hi, guys. So today we have, like Bree said, we have two beautiful, amazing, God-fearing women with us to kind of really dig into this conversation. One of them you've already met before, but she's back, Miss Ciji Buchanan. She's an educator. She's a coach, a minister through dance, all the things. And we are excited to have her back on Real Refined Podcast to lend her voice to this conversation. And with us today, we also have Miss Erica Dunbar. She is founder of Women Postured. She's a real estate agent, wife, mother, all the things, and just all around amazing, powerful woman of God. And we are just so incredibly grateful to have both of these women here to lend their voices to such an important topic. There are a lot of different platforms that are talking about marriage. And, we don't really get into trends over here at Real Refined Podcast, but we felt like this was a super important topic to have, not just for the women that are married, but for the single women that want to be married. So we know what we're getting ourselves into. And so we also don't allow culture to be the voice that we follow in forming attitudes about marriage. So with no further ado, you know what I'm saying? Let's pop off into the conversation. I have lots of questions, and I just really want to glean from all the wisdom in the room. Where I go from here?
Wait, you want to
You
answer the
go.
question?
You go. You seem like you got something to say.
I was just going to say that the perspective on our platform today, we're all wives. I know T, you're still single, but she's going to be married.
I'm a wife that's waiting.
And I really think we did like a meet and greet before. And so that's how I know this conversation is going to be great, because just by that, there was a lot of powerful things that said. So I'm so excited just to hear the perspectives of what it's just like feeling lost. Yeah. And I know there's probably more layers to it, but I think there's a common theme in marriages. I can't speak for all marriages, but I know for myself, I was in a place where I'm just like, Bree, who are you? Not just mom, not just wife, just who are you? What do you like? Do you have any hobbies anymore? It's just you trickle and you follow. You kind of just drop everything when the kids are born, because that's the sole focus. That's who it's supposed to be, the sole focus. Some people decide they don't want to be parents and they do whatever they want to do. But for me, that was my sole focus. And then you got to think that you're a wife. So what does my husband need? Isn't that crazy how that becomes like the main thing? And you kind of just forget about you. And then you get depressed. And then you have anxiety. And then you're just like, well, who am I? Like, has anyone ever asked you what you like and you don't know what to tell them?
That's the reason I left my therapist.
Your therapist asked you that?
Yes, she was like, what do you do for yourself? I was like, support my husband. What are you talking about? She's like, no, for
I'm glad
you.
we got tissue.
No, my husband and my kids. And I got really irritated with her because she was trying to make me go outside of that and not even knowing that's a problem, girl. Like, you really can't think of nothing for yourself.
Well, can I ask, when you left, what was the result?
I still haven't found another one, but that denial is something real. But that just really was the wake up. Like, you really have gotten lost in the sauce. Like, you don't have anything for yourself. Like, everything that you do is wrapped around your husband and your children. But I was okay with that. Like, I really felt okay with that. Like, I felt like truly that's my purpose. Like, so God, that's what I'm supposed to do. But I do still think that he wants me to enjoy the life that he's given. He's given me gifts. He's given me individual purpose that's not just always wrapped into my husband and my children. But I truly was okay with that, and that's why I was irritated by her. I felt like she was trying to pull me away from
Your family.
What you knew to be true.
what I knew to be like, I am good in this. Like, this is what God designed me to do. And so, but it did open my eyes to be like, girl, no, you're more than that, you know?
I feel like it took me a while to get there. What were we going to say?
Sorry.
I think it took me a while to get there only because, just like Ciji said, I was so happy and comfortable in it. So before anything, before I was interested in real estate, before I wanted to do anything outside of my household, all I ever wanted to be was like a remake of the Cosbys. But I didn't desire a career. All I wanted was to have a husband and some children to raise. That's all I wanted. Like, I wanted to get married right out of high school, start a family. So when it happened, I was intoxicated by it. I was so happy and felt fulfilled by it that I didn't realize how slippery that slope was to get caught up in whatever is in front of you that you can't see past it. So when people say don't use happiness, or happiness isn't a thing, like, but being happy in that season is a good thing, to feel fulfilled, to know that this is what I was designed to do. I'm so happy. I feel like everything is locked in. But when that happiness leaves, it's not a bad thing that you're feeling like, oh, well, the happiness is gone, so, it's not right anymore. Or the happiness is gone, but I can't look for happiness, so I'm supposed to maybe be a little bit miserable because my marriage is supposed to be a ministry. Being a mom is supposed to be a ministry. So even if I'm not happy in it, I should still be okay. That's exactly how we start losing ourselves. Because the moment that we start feeling unhappy, is not that we're supposed to start looking outside of ourselves to fulfill it. That's exactly when God is trying to get our attention to say it's something more. But don't look outside of you for the something more. Me pulling that happy feeling, that dopamine you get from happiness, me pulling it away is directing you back to me.
Yeah.
The shiny piece that you got in front of you, and you can apply this to anything: career, money, the big house you want, the car, any goal that you set out in front of you, that's that shiny thing that you cannot wait to have. Once you get it, then what? If it's no purpose tied to it, if it's no plan of purpose tied to it, you will lose yourself every time.
That was good.
That's good.
That's good.
Because
that's interesting.
The happiness that you get from it, the feeling of accomplishment. And you notice how once people get something, a lot of times it's like, okay, well, I have it.
Yeah, you take it for
I'm
granted.
on to the next thing. Now, what's the next big shiny thing that I want? But you don't stop into thinking that I have it. And if you're ready to jump on to the next thing, it really was no purpose tied to that. It was just something that you wanted to conquer. But with me and being married and children, I dreamed of it. I wanted it so bad. So when I got it, it was like I'm literally living in what I wanted so bad. I was so thankful for it. So I'm like, okay, I want to do this the best. Lord, I want to be a good steward over my husband. I want to be a good steward over my children. And in doing that, I guess unconsciously felt like I had to leave me behind in order to do that. So constantly focusing on my husband. What y'all want for dinner? I don't even think about what I want. Or what y'all want for dinner? What are we doing this weekend? Oh, the kids have this and this and this and this. And before you know it, 20 years have passed.
Yeah.
But for me, it took about 10-ish to start really realizing that, you know, when moms say, even if I go out in the streets and I'm looking busted, as long as my kids look good, I'm good. That's unhealthy.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
You say that.
That's unhealthy. You are a representation of you and of who God. Now, what looks good is up to the writer. How you feel like you should appear to the world, that's completely up to you. Everybody has their own thing. But to completely not think of yourself at all, not even in regards to how you show up in the world, to me, that's the first sign you're slipping.
Yeah.
You don't care. You have no regard. You start completely losing it and completely wrapping yourself up in, you'll go shopping for your children. They have the latest and the greatest. Well, when was the last time you bought yourself something? Oh, I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
Even with husbands, same thing. Oh, my family is good. I'm good as long as they're good. That's not healthy. Because eventually, you're going to break. Eventually, you're going to come across something that reminds you, I have not thought of myself at all, and I want to think of myself again. Thankfully for me, it was that I'm no longer happy in this. I'm no longer feeling fulfilled. It got to be something more. I wouldn't have the brain that I have if God couldn't use it some kind of way. I wouldn't have all of the thoughts, the creativity, the ideas if God didn't plan to use it. I have to be more than changing diapers and fixing dinner. No offense.
Yeah.
Because to some women, that is it. That's your calling. That's your purpose. That's what it is. But for me, it was just for a season.
That's the season part. When both of y'all were talking, I'm wondering how much of it is like a seasonal thing. So like, of course, when you get married or when you first have children or whatever, you are supposed to cultivate your family. You are supposed to, have certain duties to fulfill for your husband or to your children. But I wonder if some of the dissatisfaction that comes with that is not just that, oh, it's not shiny and new anymore, but also that like, hey, your attention also needs to be over here. And how much some of that unhappiness might be that I've not been sensitive to, God maybe showing me through this discomfort or frustration or letting myself go that, yeah, you've gotten yourself established here. You've got this up and running. Now I've also have this other assignment over here that I want you to give your attention to. And how many times maybe as wives, and this is a question, like maybe you ignored that, but you had like that sign before you got to the point where you felt completely run down or completely frustrated or whatever, that initial like, why does this keep coming up? Or I keep thinking about doing this, but I don't have time to do that right now. And it might just be like, okay, it's a change of seasons. Just like for me, when I wasn't working, that was the time where I got to pay. I got to give my sole attention to my home, cooking again, just certain things that I didn't have the time to do again. And then when it was time to go back to work, okay, now my attention has to be divided between this and this. I can't completely let go of the home. I can't completely let go of my obligations to my job. Now I have to divide my attention. So I just wonder how much of that is just, are we just not being sensitive to those changes? And I ask that as a single woman because that's something that I want to be prepared for. Because it doesn't just necessarily mean my family sucks and they're draining the life out of me and I've lost my purpose. But how much is it is just, maybe I just need to be sensitive to the changing of seasons.
You asking me first?
I'm asking everybody, whoever want to take it. Well, I'm looking at you though, huh?
You really are. Okay, I feel like I'm
looking at you.
tag. Okay, I'll tag next person, but you too far. I think it is a lack of, for me, lack of awareness, self-awareness. Because going back to self, a lot of the time, we're not aware that we need a balance. I think that's what it comes down to. We try to carry so much weight on our backs and in our backpacks, and we just are oblivious to the fact that you need to sit down somewhere. Your feet swollen, or you are actually tired. We don't listen to ourselves anymore. And like you just said, which is it just I'm not being sensitive to, dang, I'm just, before you even get to the part of being run down, there is that small voice that's just like, hey, you are tired. Hey, that there is something wrong. But we start to tune it out. Like, you ever have someone tell you something that you just don't want to hear, or you're engaged in a conversation that's really not interesting? It's called selective hearing. Like, I'm only going to, I think husbands have that.
Yeah. And children.
And children. I'm just saying, I love you, babe, but it comes down to selective hearing. We hear what we want to hear. We're only going to pick up what it is we think is important. Like, I'm tired. Okay. I'm tired, but as opposed to I'm tired, let me go sit down. So I know for me, it was just lack of self-awareness. Because if I was more self-aware, if I had more self-love, if I had more self-respect, if I had more self-boundaries and boundaries with others, then I would be sensitive to, this isn't just, I know it's the changing of the seasons, but now I can catch the changing of the season. Because transition for most people can cause chaos. Hand raised, because I'm in a transition period. And I live in a little bit of chaos, but that's why you phone a friend.
Yeah.
And you just let them know, like, hey, but now I'm at a place where we can't have a calm life and chaos at the same time. You got to pick a side and stay there. Because if you're just always living in chaos, how do you hear from God? How do you know what it is that he wants you to do? Your mind is so loud, right? So my answer is just lack of self-awareness. If we have more self-awareness as married women, single women, or really just anybody, it changes the game. We'll be ready for the change, as opposed to being reactive, for being proactive.
Yeah.
That's my TED Talk.
That was amazing.
Tag, you're it.
Wow. I was going to send it that way.
You were like right here.
I just think too, just being in tune with the Holy Spirit and really just being able to hear what he is guiding you to do. Like, he has told me several times, like, get your coaching business off the ground. Start. He send friends. Start. Here's resources. And I'm like, but I don't have time. How do I do that? I have to be at my husband's games. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to teach. Like, it's really just being obedient. Being obedient to when God is telling you to move. When he's telling you, hey, it's time for you to do this. It's time for you to do that. Because not only am I going to still take care of that you feel like you're the only person can take care of, I got that. I got your husband. I got your kids. Like, that's going to be fine.
We want to be in control
I need
so bad.
you to go do
so bad.
this.
Man.
Like, I need you to go do this because it's somebody else over here that needs you, right? Tiara's funny. That needs you right now. And because you are wanting to pour and only reserve yourself for your family, you may be missing out on what it is I'm calling you to do somewhere else.
That was good.
You didn't have to run me down like that, CG. I know you sit beside me, but
He just knocked me upside the head.
you
have
didn't
another
have to knock my head
question.
off my body.
I have another question now. I'm learning so much. So how do y'all recall, like, early on in marriage? Let's just start there. Marriage or kids, whichever one came first. Oh, y'all had married first, then kids. Okay. Were there times where, like, maybe your husband or either like family, friends, where people offered you help, but at the time, or offered you a break, or maybe your spouse said, oh, hey, babe, let me do this, and that you were just like, no, because you get kind of locked into that, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and you've turned it down, and then time goes on, and then you're like, why ain't nobody helping me? What's that
was
mean
never
with,
me.
like, Mom, can I help you with the groceries? No, I just got to do everything by myself.
That's the thing.
Y'all gonna miss me when I'm dead.
Not me.
Like,
I take the help. I take the help.
Too. Now, but I had to learn that. But to touch back on what you said before about the chaos and to combine it, you're thinking that, okay, I can't do this because I have so many things going on. And I was there at a point because when you start being everything for everybody and you're the pillar for when a friend needs to call, when a family member has an emergency, like you're always the go-to, and people don't realize that you're the go-to not just for them, but for everyone.
Yep.
So it's in being sensitive to the Holy Spirit when he's shutting things down, because at some point he's going to shut it all down. He's going to cause relationships to fall apart. They may come back, but in a season, they're going to all fall apart because he knows who you are. You're a mother, not just to even your own children, but to a lot of people. So in order for him to have you, he will move whatever mountain he got to get your attention and to get you to where he needs you to be when you need to be there.
Yeah.
So you have to find peace in chaos.
Yep.
My house is often chaotic. My children are always in different directions, different activities. My husband needs this. And for me to be aware and sensitive, just like you said, to what they need, but also to what I'm feeling at that time. And it's not giving in to emotion. It's let's just keep it real and call a spade a spade. If I'm exhausted, I'm not cooking tonight. And I went through a season to where I felt like the idea that I had was I always want to cook for my husband and my children.
That's
I
so
always
cute.
want to be this. That's what it looked like to me. But with the seasons changing, and to go back to what you said, when the seasons are changing, you have to find different ways to accommodate how God is stretching you. So in the season that I was cultivating my family, finding routines and strategies to be able to get, because my husband has always been in the oil field. So it was kind of like I was a single married mom. So having those
a real
things,
thing.
yes, it's a real thing.
that I did not sign up for.
Yes. So cultivating that, making my children independent, coming up with ways. And I was thinking, I did not have a lot of help. I did not have a lot of support. And even in that season, it was just like, okay, we just got to get it done. It's just us. How are we going to get it done? Now, when I look back at that, Tierra, I thank God because it made us become a team. I cannot do it all. Everybody has to be held accountable and responsible for what their part is. If we're going to be a true team, I would love to do everything for everybody, but that's not realistic. So even at 2 years old, I need you to understand that that goes in the trash. Even at 4 years old, Zori, I need you to know that your room needs to be picked up. We know it's not going to be perfect, but I need these acts to start going inside of your head so you know that this is what I expect. Because we are a team, and being a part of a team, everybody plays their position.
I love that. I love
needed
that
you,
when
like,
you
5
said
years
team,
ago.
you're not just talking about you and your husband. You're talking about you, your husband, and your children.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Everybody plays a role. If you play football, you don't have 40 different quarterbacks and 20 different linebackers, and the linebackers trying to play the quarterback role and all of this. Everybody has their position for a reason. Play your position and things will flow a lot smoother. So when I started understanding that, I realized now that even then, God was teaching me how to function in chaos.
Yep.
How to be able to move and maneuver and not collapse to my emotions. Yes, I'm tired. No, I don't want to help with homework. But if I'm going to have the ministry that God wants me to have, I'm going to have to be able to juggle a lot. My capacity is going to have to expand.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to be able to stretch how he needs me to stretch, even though it's uncomfortable for me. So in those transitioning moments, just knowing that, okay, Lord, right now I have a little rubber band, so you can't stretch me that much. But by the end of that process, that little bitty rubber band is now stretched to its capacity, and you're ready to move on to the bigger rubber band because he had to make you uncomfortable. He had to remove the happiness. He had to remove the dopamine you felt of finally getting your shiny object because it's time for something bigger.
Yeah.
And you can't keep denying it, wanting to shrink back to the little rubber band.
That's so good.
I so needed you 5 years ago.
I needed each other.
I wish I had that. That's
Listen,
not going into marriage understanding that we're a team makes a world of a difference. Obviously,
difference.
we had to learn that.
Yes.
And that was the most amazing realization in my marriage. that we both have a role on this team. We're not playing against each other. So don't be trying to shoot at one basket instead of this basket. Like,
It is basket laundry.
we're trying to make points because we're on the same team.
Yeah.
And we had that conversation. So we're on the same page because it changes so much when you realize that I'm not playing against you.
We together.
We together, like peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, can y'all go ahead and share how long have you been married, Ciji?
I've been married 17 years.
Okay.
Ooh.
Brianna
It'll be 13 years this year.
and Erica.
17 years in May.
So we got a lot of wisdom in the house. And me.
You coming.
It's
Look how God is
coming.
giving you a village for you to be prepared.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be
Listen.
calling all of y'all.
I want to say
Come.
something to what because you talk about happiness, and I want to just go back there because I know y'all heard me say it before in our meet and greet. Because it had to be a realization for me. It was a real thing that happiness, fear, and all those other emotions, they're fleeting.
Yes.
And a lot of the time when we don't get that happy feeling, we go try to fill it with something else, with the void, alcohol, sex, whatever, drugs, food,
Yeah. Food again.
something that's toxic, something that's not healthy for us because we want that feeling back. So bad. I want that feeling back. But we forget about joy. We're promised joy. Joy is internal. It's saying that no matter what I have going on, no matter what's happening, I'm going to be content and be thankful in these current circumstances. I'm not going to go out there looking for something to fill this emptiness that I feel right now. I'm not going to go and try to figure out how to make myself happy with these pleasures that don't last long. I'm not going to go do that. Yes, I don't feel happy right now. Let's face it. That is a feeling. It's an emotion. It goes away and it comes. But a lot of the time people get so hooked up on, and that's why marriages fail because I'm not happy anymore.
And it must be your fault.
And you're the reason why I'm not happy.
Ooh, come on.
But when we talk about joy, it's so, because I realized I had to learn to myself that joy is internal. And God be giving us that.
God,
Yes.
God's a
Absolutely.
real
And
one.
even with, like I said, when you start feeling those, I think that's the quickest way for us to stay aware. If once the emotions come up, bubble up in us, instead of just reacting to it, if we could just take a beat and investigate why. Me and my brother just had a conversation that just popped back in my mind. He was like, "You always want to know why." I said, because that one simple word will calm and just eliminate so much confusion.
Yep.
That one little word. If your husband says something to you and you don't quite understand it, and instead of you assuming what he meant, I know I irk my husband's nerves because all I want to know is why.
Clarity is
Well,
important.
I want to
Yes.
understand what
All
you're
by
saying.
getting
Or if
understand.
my children want to go somewhere that they may not normally want to go and with people that they may not normally want to go with, why? What's over there? What y'all doing? Who gonna be there? But why? Why do you want to go there all of a
Why?
sudden? That simple little word can solve a lot of misunderstandings, confusion, and all aspects of different relationships. Just asking why. What's going on? But when we start feeling those feelings of fear, unhappiness, uncertainty, as soon as it bubble up and we are self-aware enough to say, well, where they come from? Why am I feeling this way? And as soon as you ask yourself that question of why, maybe it's, okay, your husband want to go out with his friends and you're like, no. Well, I'm finna go out, I'll be back. I don't want you to go. Well, why? Because then he gonna ask why. And then you gotta ask yourself why. Like, well, am I being selfish and I just want you to myself, or
Do I want to spend time with you?
do I just want to snuggle? And if I just want to snuggle,
Or
wife
wanna be in
part,
control.
just
Say that.
Pull it out.
like, well,
That's a real thing.
it's a real thing. Like, okay, you have a lot going on. I have a lot going on. And we got these kids in the midst of this. I feel like there's a little disconnect where we've been spending too much time apart. So that's why.
You know, and being able to articulate
And being able
the
to
why.
say that.
Yes.
But the why is going to start with you first. Because as soon as he says something, whatever the question is, whatever he wants to do, if there's an issue, if something rises up in yourself, you have to ask yourself, especially if it's not anything wrong, well, why do I have an issue with that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I miss my husband. I haven't seen you in a while. We've been just kind of wishy-washy and going. So I want you tonight. So tell him no.
I know people can get annoyed by it, but kids are so inquisitive. They ask why for everything. Yeah. My youngest, she wants to know how it works, why it works, what is this? And I'm going to teach her. And I'm going to tell my oldest the same thing. I want them to ask questions because, of course, that brings on more knowledge at their young ages. And as they get older, it's becoming a running joke in my office, but I always say, I have a quick question. And sometimes it's really not that quick of a question. It's like a question in like 3 different parts.
Mm-hmm. Loaded question.
But because I know that I don't know everything and I don't have the answers to everything, I'm going to ask so I can have clarity and understanding. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the time we have to get comfortable going to our spouses and having those hard conversations and just asking the why. And being okay with them also doing the same to us.
That part.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. And a lot of times our why is loaded in control. Like we just truly want to be in control of it all. And that's unhealthy. But I also wanted to go back to, we were talking about happiness. I was telling them earlier, there was a podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about how a lot of people want their marriages to make them happy, but in turn, it's really you are supposed to make your marriage happy. Like you are given the tools through God to make your marriage happy, not the other way around. I was like, whoa, mind blown. Because if you think about marriage is really the dynamic relationship that God put together for you to sharpen the iron of the person He partnered you with.
Yep.
Like for you to enhance and help build every fruit of the Spirit, because you're going to definitely work on patience. You're going to work on being kind. You're going to work on being gentle. You're going to work on faithfulness. You're going to work on self-control, all of the things, joy, everything in marriage is you're helping that other person really to become who God is calling them to be through that relationship. So it's just the roles and just knowing like, hey, this is what this is for. I'm helping fine tune this man to be who God is calling him to be. And he's helping fine tune me. Like, I'm being real impatient right now. He's really wearing me down, but God is trying to fix that one part of me that maybe needs some attention.
Oh, wait, I was like, I want to
tag Tiara. You ain't spoken a long time.
Tag you. Okay. So I'm wondering, because I'm just listening to all of y'all. Y'all have so much wisdom, so much perspective, and I'm just wondering, because the husbands that you all have, they have to have the capacity for you, right? Yeah. With all that you are.
Because I be a lot.
And
me too.
Yes. So how do you guys, or how do you ladies, what is that process of like learning to trust your husband as the head in making decisions and, you know, whatever that looks like, as someone who, you know, I already know and understand X, Y, and Z, or, you know, knowing when to take a step back and let him work through something himself, especially with y'all being women of faith. A lot of times, and I'm not saying this is the case with everybody, but a lot of times women are more invested in their faith and their spirituality than men are. It kind of takes them a little while longer to get there. So how is it that y'all navigate? Because I know in my mind as a single woman, I'm like, when I meet my husband, I'm not dragging nobody to church. Like, you gonna already have to be there. But the reality is, for most people, their husbands are not in church. They are dragging them. Now, I don't plan on that being my testimony, but I don't know what the Lord gonna do. But I'm not dragging you nowhere. So what is that? What does that look like? Because also, too, everybody heard that these ladies have been married for upward of 10 years, right? So it's likely that when you met your husbands, you weren't thinking about Jesus. So as you grow and mature and realize, I need Jesus and my family needs this important, firm foundation, what does that look like in trusting your household, your life, your safety, and all of that stuff to your husband? And how do you navigate, like, knowing like, you know, I've got this figured out, or this is how I would do it, but also knowing when to take a step back to let your husband lead. Because there's a lot of contention between women and men in the culture right now. And again, y'all have been married for upward of 10 years, and I'm sure there's been highs and lows, but I'm really interested to hear, like, what does that look like? How do you come into it and say, okay, I know that this, I'm gonna let you take care. Like, what does that look like?
I'm gonna just be honest, because we real here.
Yeah.
Before we're married, we're just two individual people.
Right.
He's him, I'm me. And whatever other things we have baggage-wise, when we become married, it kind of makes its way into the marriage.
Yes, Lord.
And it just kind of happens by default, right? So my answer has to do with a lot of just healing. In order for me to have let my husband just lead, I had to understand that there was a place where I lacked trust, maybe in my past. And because I've lacked trust and I've experienced situations where it's like, I can't trust nobody. I've in turn, because I've not fully healed from that place, I'm now bringing that into my marriage. There's a lot of things that are in our backpacks that we bring into the marriage that we just don't take the time to take out. We're just carrying it around. And a lot of the time we're dumping it onto our spouse as if they're responsible for healing us. Or being our daddy or being our mama.
Daddy.
Daddy issues.
That's the next episode.
Ready.
That's episode number 2.
No, but seriously, we need to have a conversation about daddy issues.
Daddy.
We're bringing those items and those things into our marriage, into our backpacks, and we're just taking them out. And because we're not fully healing in those areas, it's going to be really hard to just release and to trust. And it's the same thing, speaking for myself, with trusting God a lot of the time. Like trying to micromanage him because I'm in a place where I'm transitioning out of control, of wanting to have a lot of control. It's a process, but that's because I've experienced situations where I had no control. So that means because I have no control, I have to just make sure that whether it's professionally, at work, anything, I have to be in control. But that's not healthy because that means now I want to control the actions of my husband. Thank God that I'm not in that place anymore. That means he can't fully be the leader of this household. So it absolutely takes going to God to really heal those broken pieces of us. We get so afraid to go to God as if he can't handle it.
Listen.
As if you don't see it already.
As if he just doesn't know. But sometimes he just wait for us to say, all right, my child,
When you
ready,
dog walked,
I'll be here. Whenever you're done getting stumped on and kicked upside your head, I'm here. And I had to get a few black eyes to just realize that God is there. And he is going to heal those things that are hidden in me that I just decided that I never wanted to talk about, or I'm going to dump on my husband he may not have the capacity to. And knowing that he also has a past too. So there things like communication. If he was never taught, and that's not just him, any person who was never taught how to effectively communicate, when they come into the marriage, they're also not going to know how to effectively communicate. So that means we have to learn together.
That is so good.
And because we've all been married for a long time, that means in the marriage, we had to learn together.
At what point is it you have to exercise patience and no, you just ain't it?
Patience
That's in the
with your
beginning.
spouse.
Like with certain things, like if communication was the thing or whatever the case may be, like at what point do you know, like, no, I don't have to deal with this, and this is
Not
when you already married.
I was going to say
before you get married.
In the day. No, I'm not telling y'all just leave. Look,
I can't speak to the before.
but I'm saying like
with people.
because, and this is the thing too, because I think that this generation and this society that we live in, it's a lot of very entitled opinion about what a person that I'm with gonna have to be X, Y, and Z, and we basically be having a list that makes the person perfect. And we don't account for, well, I'm raggedy too. And there's certain things that I do that are difficult to deal with, I'm sure.
Yes.
But at the same time, and speaking for myself personally, it's certain stuff that is just like, this is too hard. And like, okay, that's enough. I'm done.
Well,
But I can't be that way because in a marriage, marriage.
Not
In
when
a
you're
marriage,
in.
like you have to stick it out. But is it like, no, this is a red flag at the beginning to let you know, run. But how do you know when it's like I'm graced to deal with what comes with this person?
Can we go back
Like,
to the
how do
previous
you
question? Because I
know?
want to hear what they answered.
I know, I'm sorry, but that one, I'm just like, how you know?
Put a
Like,
pin
how
in
did
it.
you know?
Put it in your notes because I want to hear what they say.
What was the other question?
I
don't even-
forgot.
Oh, the other question
The
was, how do you
trust.
know?
Oh,
Not
'cause
necessarily
I-
with trust,
the
but just how do
leading.
you know when to let your husband lead?
Well,
Because y'all
I
17
say
years in
first,
deep, baby.
Okay. Well, listen, the role of the wife is the helpmate anyway. And for you to, I did a devotional that was about a prayer mantle for as a wife. When you truly just lay everything at God's feet and you become that helpmate, and meaning that you are treat as like God. That's what help actually was meaning, is to be like God. That means in everything that he does, and you're trusting God to lead him and he lead you. Like the prayer that you lay before God and keeping him covered, and in every decision that he's making, like, okay, I'm having to trust that the prayers that I'm praying is going to travel there and it's going to get to him, and he's going to make the decisions that he needs to make. But just making sure that your prayer life and everything. And I also read that your husband's what is it? He said, your husband's outcome can depend on how you pray for your husband. Like how you pray and what your husband becomes can totally be aligned with how you are praying for him. So if you are truly praying the prayers and laying everything at God's feet, his future could truly be aligned with what you are giving God, like what you are praying for him. So I'm just going to trust that as he leads, because he's given to me, that whatever I'm praying, God is going to give it to him for him to lead us in the right direction.
That's so good.
That's just,
That's real
I don't
good.
know if it really all made sense. Cause
No, it does.
has,
That's good. That's
but
good.
just really just being that prayer mantle for him and praying so I can release and know that, okay, I have to trust it because I'm trusting God. It ain't just necessarily about the decisions or trusting him. I'm trusting God to do what he needs to do through him so that he makes the decisions that need to be made for our family.
Yeah.
That is so good. And even with that, to the previous conversations we had about, any kind of trust or worrying about what he's doing or worrying about what your children are doing. I literally probably 2 weeks ago was like, Lord, I literally give my children to you and put them in your hands. I can't do it. I can't be in every space, and I can't be worried about what they're doing outside of my presence, and I can't be worried about what someone is going to do to them if I'm not there to protect them. So I have to release this, and I have to give it to you.
Yeah.
So in doing that, I have to relinquish control. I also have to build my trust muscle with God to know that he is going to do and take care of and provide and be the protection that they need, even outside of me. Because I can't be in all places, but he can.
Yeah.
Come on, Erica.
That
Yep.
part.
So even with going back to what you were saying about as a single person, I'm going to speak. If I was single and looking for a man now, first of all,
I can't.
I know,
It
it's
is
just trash out
but
there.
if I
out here.
was, those would be the things that I was looking for. I think people get so caught up now in, girl, he got to make this and he got to be driving, like all of the superficial things.
Right.
But the things that matter at their core, they're completely oblivious to. And everybody talks about being healed. And that's a good thing. You want to be healed. But even at your best, 1,000% healed self, you're still imperfect.
Yep.
Right.
So when you meet your healed person and you're healed, y'all still gonna have a bunch of baggage.
Yeah.
And y'all
Yep.
gonna pull it out of each other, because in that marriage, when iron is sharpening iron, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
going to.
Gonna
You're
cut.
not going to like it. It's going to cut. It's going to bleed. It's going to heal. You shouldn't be the same as you were before you got cut as after you got cut, and then after you healed from it. So I made a post about this, I think some years ago, if you don't trust your boyfriend to lead you, you're not going to trust him as a husband to lead.
That's good. That answers my question. That's good.
So
That's good.
if you're dating someone and you do not trust his judgment, a ring and a nice ceremony
ain't gonna change it.
It's gonna be just a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, you still
Waste-
gonna look at him like, I can't trust your judgment. And now I done married you and I can't trust your judgment. And now you upset with me because I don't trust you as the man to lead as the man when I didn't trust you as the man from the beginning.
So I should have never even said yes.
I should have never agreed to this covenant, and I can't be what you need because I'm not gonna trust you. At some point after you do it, because people get married with not the information, not even the conversation that we're having right now.
It's just
They're blinded by the superficial things.
Yep.
They're blinded by the trends that are trending on TikTok and Instagram about what a man should be, a provider, a husband, all the things. And then they get in the thick of it and like, oh no, you're not checking off my boxes no more.
right.
Bye. Who's gonna follow, you or me? But if we had looked at this person, especially at this age, like if you're at this age, like I'm almost 40 years old, so if I'm looking for a partner now, I should not be even considering the things that I would have considered at 20 years old.
Yeah.
So to be able to impart wisdom in somebody that is searching or is waiting to be found, when this man comes to you, the things that you know are your core values, you need not alter from it.
Right.
Because if not, the grace that you're going to need to cover him, to love him through, you're not going to have it.
Man,
Your course.
I was just about to bring that up. I was just about to bring that up.
Your course.
First of all, you beautifully addressed the first question and the second question. So thank you. Because you tried to stop my second question, but I really
You was jumping.
I really needed to
You
know.
was just doing popcorn.
Peanut butter and jelly.
And you was jumping the
I
gun.
really
but
needed.
battle,
I'm
I
sorry.
brought you back.
I really needed to
I
know.
brought you
It's
back.
okay. Thank you. Okay, I love all y'all. Look. So in the course, one of the things that we do is if she is to be found, it will be popping off summer 2024. We're back.
What camera did you look at? I was looking at. I'm watching your eyes. Like, what
Keep on track.
Y'all.
Just make eye contact with me next time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I really be trying to get my life together.
You were doing good though.
Y'all not finna pick on me today.
I'm
But no, okay. Summer 2024, we will be back. Anyways, so in the course, one of the activities that we do is the post-relationship inventory. To Erica's point, if you don't stop and take a beat between these relationships that are not working out, engage what was working, what was not, where was the breakdown, what did I bring into it, what did my partner bring into it, what did this partner do that I want in future relationships that I really value? What did I learn about what I value in relationships and what actually works for me? Because a lot of us, we start to develop a type based on a fantasy, based on TV shows that we watch growing up. Like I love Whitley and Dwayne, but that wasn't a real couple. Like seriously.
Yeah. Not at all.
We really will set an expectation of our partner based on a TV show or a movie.
Scripted.
Right. Or we base it on, well, I saw my parents do X, Y, and Z, so that's what I want, or that's what I don't want.
Yes.
Right? And it's not based on anything that's tangible and real. And a lot of information is found in past events, is what I keep telling the ladies. Like, if you've already been in relationships or situationships, you need to be taking information from that to inform how you move forward. So if you don't know what you value, if you don't know what actually works for you, and you just keep jumping in relationship, you're gonna end up getting in a few years later, be like, I don't even like you. Like, why are you here? But you never stop. Like for me, we talked about this earlier. I have found from a few years ago, I really value and I'm attracted to a man that is kind. Not dated street. But the reality is what actually works for me, what I actually value, what I feel safe in, is somebody that is actually kind. So I need to be, when I'm looking and I'm being open, that's one of the things that I need to be looking for. But if I've never stopped to assess, I'll have the signs right in front of my face of, Tierra, you keep saying you want a CEO, but every time you date somebody that has that kind of busy schedule, you get frustrated, you feel neglected, you get insecure. That don't work for you. But you keep dating the same type of person because you don't know that doesn't work for you. So a good point and something that us as single women need to do, I recommend my course, but you can do it by yourself. You can do it. You can, but I'm just saying we do it in the course. Is to sit down and really evaluate. We always talk about inventory. Take inventory. There's a lot of good information in mistakes that you already made. You do not have to repeat them, and you do not have to marry them.
I think it's also important to do those same check-ins in marriage.
Yes.
Like, have those, hey, let's talk. How are we doing? How am I doing? What do you need from me that, or I can address what I need from you? Because as we've been together 17 years, together 24, we were basically kids. We're totally different people. Yes. Like, you're not 16 anymore. Sometimes I miss the 16-year-old. He used to write letters. He's
Just
like,
in case you're watching.
He's like, girl, I ain't 16 no more. I know, but I miss him. But yes, just keeping inventory, as you said, on the things that may need to shift and change. And as your relationship grows, as you grow, I need this now. That used to be my love language. Everybody wants to take the love language quiz one time. It changes. Yeah. So it used to be words of affirmation. It's still words of affirmation, in case you're watching. Words of affirmation, but physical touch now. And I may need acts of service, like all of the things, like just making sure you continue to do that inventory in your marriage.
That's so I want to speak to your course really quick, though. Okay. Because I'm married, and I took T's course. And her curriculum in the course provided me with a lot of insight on self. It had me take a really deep dive into myself, where it was just like, dang, Brie, you still got some areas that you need to be healing from. What do you value? What are your values now? Because maybe they have changed over the years. What are some things that you really need to work on so that you can be all you can be in this marriage? Where am I not whole? And I think that if y'all need it, married or single, I think that y'all should take it because it was very empowering. I didn't feel defeated after I took the course. I felt like, okay, now I know what it is that I need to work on. And I think the biggest thing with any coach or anybody that you work with is when you receive the information, what are you going to do with it? Because I used to get super frustrated when I would coach people and they just continue operating in the same cycle. And I looked at myself like, is it me? Am I not given the proper tools? But then I realized that, you may have made the choice to come to my class or come to my workshop or whatever, do one-on-one, and it may have worked at the time. But when you leave, what do? Yeah. You go back and do the same things. When you get this information, what do? Do you apply the time management tools that I gave you? Do you do this? Do you do that? And if we don't apply those tools, the tools we get from God, the tools that we get from coaching, from therapy, nothing is going to change. We're going to continue to operate in the same cycles, and those same cycles will be in our marriages, in our relationships before we're married. And I think it was just very empowering and powerful to know that all of these things just require not a look to hurt you, but a look at yourself to be like, man, I do got some stuff. I may have some pride. I may have a lack of communication. I may have trust issues. That information is not meant to hurt you. It's not meant to make you feel like you're the scum of the earth. It's not meant to make you feel like that. It's just, wow, what do I need to work on? Because when you do inventory, you look at everything that you have. I have this, and this. Now, what in this is old and raggedy and I don't need? But you have to replace. You can't just get rid of something and not replace it. I always talk about gratitude. You've probably seen other episodes. But when you remove complaining from your vocabulary, you don't want to complain, you are to replace it with gratitude. I am thankful for it. Every time you feel like a complaint is bubbling up, look around. We can see. We can walk. We can talk. We have houses that we can go to. We have cars that we can drive that cost a lot of gas, but
there's gas in there.
There's gas. You have money.
Yeah.
There's just, I'm telling you, y'all take the course.
Can I add something to that? So in in the psychology class that I teach, when we talk about relationships, one of the things that keeps standing out to me every time I've had to teach it was that in the healthiest relationships, or relationships or marriages rather, where people said good things about their spouse, those were the happiest relationships. And they looked at, like, if them and their partner had a disagreement about something, they didn't make whatever happened between them a reflection of their partner's character. They just said, like, oh, this is a situation that we got to work through, as opposed to saying, oh, he just a selfish person, or she's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that the people that speak well about their partners are happier in their relationships. And it just makes me think about the language that we use when we talk about, when y'all talk about your husband. Yeah, we. You know, we. When we talk about our husbands, because again, there's a lot of stuff out there that's really like dragging, men, dragging women. But when you can find the good in your partner and continue to talk about that instead of complaining about your partner, it actually makes for a healthier marriage and partnership.
It's about protecting your partner, because I want my spouse to make sure he's protecting me when I'm not there.
And all of y'all, I can vouch, all of y'all are always speaking well of your husband.
That's my man. Or whatever.
Even when he get on my nerves.
Even.
We'll fight. And I don't fight nobody, but I will fight for that.
You know what?
You understand me? Yes, where the camera?
I mean, it's a choice.
You better eyeball that camera down.
Period. It's a choice. I think protecting our spouses, hunting the good stuff, because that's what you're really speaking to, hunting the good stuff in our marriages. Like, although things may suck right now, although you may be getting on my nerves, I want you to sleep on the couch, I love you. And we're going to fight through it.
Dearly.
It's
And
a choice.
just shows that y'all have to have good communication,
You
because
have to.
so many people need a place to vent. But if you're able to keep that in house, that means that you can talk to your partner and work through problems. That's amazing.
But it takes stretching to get there.
Yeah.
My 22-year-old self, when I met him, well, we've been together this summer, will be 20 years total. Could you imagine the conversation that, okay, I'm going to give y'all a prime example. I know this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. The little boy, I shouldn't say little boy, the guy, the man, Simone Biles' husband.
Oh, okay.
When
Yeah.
I did that interview,
Yes.
I hadn't been on social media. It's like, as soon as I do get on there, be a flood of stuff going on. So everybody was ripping him to shreds about his perspective of how they got started. And I just so have happened to catch the episode because the barber had it on when I was taking my boys to get a haircut. So I asked the barber, I was like, who is that little boy? And then he was like, oh, that's the football player. He married to Simone Biles. I was like, oh, that's him. Oh, he's so handsome. And then he goes on talking, and you could tell how he was smiling, and the things that he said about her, to admire her, to big her up.
I didn't hear nothing about that.
It's
I
news
didn't.
to me.
Nobody talked about how much he was like, well, when it comes to finances, my wife does it because I'll get out of hand. And, when Christmas came, and I remember this so vividly because I remember thinking like, dang, he really giving her props.
As
so
he
when,
should.
So when I got on social media and I saw everything contrary to, like, oh, he had to make it known that she drove 45 minutes and this and that and this and that, I couldn't even stomach it because all I could think was, the conversation, if me and my husband was getting interviewed, and she was in the room, if me and my husband was getting interviewed when we first got married, our perceptions and perspectives of who we were at that time, or how we thought our marriage was supposed to be, Lord, we would have got our 22, 23-year-old selves would have got ate up. Oh, he don't cover her. He don't protect. He don't even pray. Like all these different opinions. And when I looked at the interview, I had no idea it was going to be a thing. And then to hear the responses from it, how often do we criticizing this couple who is so young? Their marriage is still in its infant state. give them some grace.
Mm-hmm.
Give that boy, that man, give that man some grace to see that, first of all, if she didn't deem it as a problem and nobody in her circle deemed it as a problem to even be telling her anything, and maybe they did. But the thing is, the season that they're in, maybe it wasn't a problem. Maybe it was something that they needed to grow through as a marriage, as we all had, especially when you start so young.
Yeah.
Those are kids, basically. And now they're married, and this man got here, and to me, I heard a bunch of good things that he said. I did hear him say she drove 45 minutes, you know, to see him or whatever. But think about the environment that we're in right now. We're all comfortable. There's no live audience. These were a group of men in a setting like this. He having guy talk with guys.
Yeah.
He's not thinking about what he's saying and how it's going to be perceived as him not loving his wife, not protecting her, not all of these things. He's just basically having casual conversation. Now he gonna know. Now he gonna go back. He done messed around and found out. But I said all of that to say, all of the things that they're having to grow through now is kind of having to be sped up. Things that they probably would have taken time and grace to nurture and cultivate and learn about each other, they're being force-fed.
Yeah.
So having those times and those moments where you're trying to learn your spouse and them trying to learn you at the same time, you're still learning yourself.
That part.
Yeah.
And he, even at almost 40, he's still learning himself. To give each other the grace and, like you said, to go back to communicate with each other like, okay, I know I'm not who I was before, but as we heal, as we become aware of the things that are happening within us, like I know I used to like to do those kind of things, but I don't like to do those things no more. How do you think this is going to affect us? How is that going to show up in our marriage now?
Oh, wow.
That part.
Dude, yeah, people really have conversations like that.
You
yeah,
gotta have
You
that.
should. You
You have to.
should.
For me to say, well, I don't want to do that, and I've said this to y'all a million times. Like, I've never been the club type of person. When I met my husband at 18 years old, even then, I've never been a club girl, a bar girl. I've always been a let's get something to eat and go home girl. So my husband was the exact opposite. He's more social. He likes people and all of those things. So that was always something that we would have arguments about in the beginning because I just don't want to go. And I feel like even in that time when we was boyfriend and girlfriend, when he saw how strong I was in that stance, this is who I am. At least that's who I am in this moment, and I'm okay with that. Get with it or don't. But this is who I am, and I'm completely okay with it. But I feel like it started swaying him to where he didn't want to go out anymore as much because I didn't want to go out. And I'm like, okay, you ain't got to do this for me because this is me.
Right.
I'm going to be comfortable in this because this is who I am.
Yeah.
So you can't change who you are, at least try to outdo your season. This may be your season of Clubhouse. So you can get the lessons that you need for your future
Get
self.
it out your system.
Go and get it out your system.
Get it out.
I just never needed to get it out of my system.
And that goes back to my question from earlier. Like, so there are some women that might, and again, I'm still speaking for the single women because, you know, how do you know when this is something he's going to do for a season and then eventually? Because there's some 60-year-old men that's still in the club and still at the gas station.
Knowing
Stop
that you
it.
will be okay with it, whether it changed about him or not.
Yeah, it's a choice.
Yeah.
We get to choose if we
Yeah.
want to continue to say, this is something that I'm going to work through, as opposed to this is scrub behavior and I don't want to work through this with you.
This is
So
a
you-
non-negotiable.
So it
we
seems like a lot
choose.
of it is really like being okay with fully being who you are and accepting another person.
That's
For
what
who-
makes
that's
it
the
hard.
it.
That's
That's
what
the
makes
it.
it hard because it's two people trying to operate as one person, like one
Yes,
brain,
one
one
unit.
body. So we are not even made, like God didn't even, we're all uniquely made. And here we are now trying to function as
As
one part.
It
So,
makes me wonder how marriage can work outside of God. Like,
it can't.
you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we even try to?
And that's why people give up on him so
fails.
soon
Yeah.
and so quick, because they don't want to make God the center. It's like me. I'm unhappy. It's not working. I'm done.
Yeah.
And yeah, you are, because there was no
No
bond.
foundation.
The bond, God binds it together. So if you don't have that, then yeah, y'all are two separate
And gonna
things.
stay separate,
Yeah.
especially if it's two unbelieving people. If it's two unbelieving people and you try to have a covenant, because marriage is
A covenant
something
between you,
God.
God. Yeah.
So if God, I don't even want to say that God ain't never been nowhere near in you, because he in everybody. Like, he's there. He's
You
there.
haven't accepted it.
You have to be able to accept him. So if it's two people, if you know from the gate that this guy, like, he's showing all the signs of everything I don't want, all it's gonna do is get exacerbated over time.
But a lot of women are so
Ooh.
desperate
I was just
to
going
be
to say
married.
that.
And that's another thing why I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. I'm learning so much from y'all. Some women are so desperate to be married. It's like, I don't know what it is about marriage. And I've even been in this place as well, where it's like, this is my happily ever after, and that's it. Like, we don't think past the wedding.
What I
Right?
told you.
And we get so desperate to just be married that we overlook all the important things. Like you was saying earlier, one of the things I want to make sure I ask before we go another direction. So for the women out there who might have an unbelieving husband, because I found that this has been the case more so with women having an unbelieving husband than, of course, with men unbelieving wife, at least in my little world. What is the advice or encouragement or whatever? Because I know that that's a huge struggle when you basically have your relationship with the person you're supposed to be closest with here on earth, and then the relationship with your creator, right? And you have a partner that in some cases is against that. And it's a lot of it's not new, but a lot of, especially Black men, getting into more like African spirituality or more ancestral worship or Hebrew Israelism, all of these other things that are contrary, and kind of draw a line there. What advice or encouragement would y'all have for those women that are having a difficult time in their marriage, and that's the point of contention, especially if they have children?
Ooh.
I actually read a book wherein that was one of the chapters. It's called Loving Him Well. I'm not sure the author, but there was a chapter where the wife, she had an unbelieving husband, and they had been married for years, long time. But in that, she gave the advice of, you don't stop your walk. You continue praying. You continue going. You continue getting up every Sunday, going to church, and laying him and everything at the altar. And God will, because you are his child, because he cares about your heart. He will turn him. You can't turn him. That is only, that's a God job. But continuing to pray and laying it. Now, first of all, it's kind of hard. Like, if you gotten yourself in that situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So we go back to the beginning of the thing.
Yeah.
The beginning of the thing is now you've actually probably placed yourself in a relationship that God did not intend, unless you were the caveat to bring him to God. Now, you just have to really make sure you're in tune with the Holy Spirit before you walk into something like that. But just laying it at his feet and praying him to turn him around, because he will use life situations that may be uncomfortable for the entire family to bring him to him.
Yeah.
Like, completely make him flat on his face to where he then has no chance, nothing to do but to look up to God and want to know more about God. But praying, and giving it to God, he will turn him around, because he is his creation. Ultimately, he is his child. He ultimately does want his soul. So you continuing to intercede on his behalf and just doing what you can do to get him to turn his life to God. That's all.
I agree. It's about being an example.
To that too, asking for the grace during that season. for you and your children to not catch the wrath, because ultimately we can pray and we can do what we need to do as the wife, but it's still his choice.
Yeah.
It's still his choice, and we want to pray, and we also want to be the light of God, not trying to badger him with what God said and what it should be, just giving him the grace as we're asking for the grace and the capacity to be able to be the help to get him back to God or to get him to God. But in that, just like you said, reading your Bible still, being that example, but that subtle example.
Yes,
still
that's good, Erica.
Reading your word, listening to your worship music, worshiping, and keeping your children involved in that process of, we've always gone to church or we're going to church. Because I notice like a lot of times too, from the little bit that I see with people that believe different things, or they found something new, it's just trending. Sometimes they find something because they're trying to fill a void.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they find something to fill it. Okay, I don't believe everything that the Bible says, and y'all believe what the man done told y'all about Jesus and this and that and the third. So I'm gonna go find something that's completely pro-black or whatever the opposite of that is. So while they're really just trying to discover and fill a void, you're praying against whatever that spirit is, and you're praying and asking that God reveals that spirit so you can put a name on it when you pray about it. And also that God fills the void. Whatever it is that he's missing and lacking, that he's in search of, Lord, you feel it. You take care of it. You allow me to be the vessel that you called me to be to bring him back to you. And in this walk, I'm still going to do what I do, and especially when children are involved, because sometimes the man being the man, like, you know, I say my kid's not going to church. Or I say my kid's going to believe what I believe, and I'm going to introduce them to this, and you pray against the spirit of confusion.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want our children to go to church. Our home is church. We're going to have Bible study then.
Amen.
And you don't even have to announce it to them, because then it's just going to make things more combative.
Yeah.
So, okay, husband, you don't want them to go to church. That's fine. And then you telling the children, okay, y'all, it's Tuesday. Let's go read our word. Well, I don't want them reading the Bible either. Okay, now, what do you believe? And what do you have? Because our children has to have some kind of sense of spirituality and connected to a greater being. And if you're not going to be proactive in trying to lead them and really be serious about it, then this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because they have to have something real to hold on to. And because I'm their mom, this is what my real is. So it's going to be, this is something that I actually practice. Reading my word, following God's way, trying to be the example for them that what my God says I should be.
Yeah.
Now, when you want to align yourself with that and you feel like that's what it's going to be, and you want our children to be a part of it, then okay, we'll have to figure that out when we get there. But until then, they're going to have something stable and consistent. And this is stable and consistent. Because sometimes I think you just got to go back to logic when them demons get to being
Listen, the
activated.
demons.
You can't, you can't work with spirituality because they don't believe what you believe.
Right.
So you're going to have to go to something just plain out logic. These kids need something consistent. So this is what's consistent. I get up every Sunday. We have a routine. This is what they need for them to be disciplined,
Erica,
to do what
that's
they
so
need.
good.
Other than that, we'll cross your bridge when we get there, buddy. And most of the time,
Yeah.
we don't even get there.
To
Because
answer,
you listening to what your friends said.
yeah, to answer your
just a
question,
Looking for a loophole to be sinful.
yeah, they both answered and said what I was going to say. I think another component too is to not be discouraged, not to stop what we're doing
Boy,
just
that's
because
really good.
they're not on the same page. And to your point, like not forcing it on to our spouses or even to our children. I think if we start forcing those things, they're not going to want to do it. It's like, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And we get, as children, we probably got rebellious because what you telling me, why are you forcing me or telling me what I
Right.
can't do? So since I can't do it, I want to try to do it anyway. So I think it's so important for us not to be discouraged when we have a spouse who may be a believer, but he's not praying as much as you pray. He's not going to
Yeah.
church as much as you're going to church. Y'all are not on the same level. And I think that goes back to just what you said, having the routines, leading by example. This is what we're going to do. And that's exactly what I do with the children and with my household. And you can just see the shift because everybody just gets on board. And I'm not forcing it. Hey, what's our focus scripture this month? Let's read different books in the Bible. And they take joy in it. We say our prayers together every single night. That's what we're supposed to do. Now, some nights we be going to bed. And I got to make sure I stay on routine. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they come ask me, Mommy, can we pray? That's what I want.
Right.
And when you start
Yes.
teaching them that and it's not being forced on them, they gradually are just like, well, can we do this? And I got to make sure I'm not saying I'm too tired because I did that one time and I felt very bad.
You feel convicted about it.
It was terrible.
God will use your children to whoop you.
I felt so convicted. And I definitely prayed. And I was just like, okay, I can't do it no more. So now I got to snap out of the I'm too tired. When they say, hey, Mommy, can we pray? Okay, let's just go ahead and pray. Because I felt so terrible when I did that.
And a lot of times, too, seriously, God will use, especially if we're pouring the right things into our children to hear, God will use it and turn it right back on us.
Yes.
And right
Get
when you're not
whooped.
even thinking about it. One morning, we were on our way to school. I had so much on my mind. I was like, oh, I got to do this and got to do that. I did not read my Bible that morning. We get in the truck. My baby boy, 10 years old, was like, Mom, I read my word this morning. Immediately, I felt convicted.
Yeah.
And I said, you did?
Good job.
What did you read? Because anytime, y'all, I kid you not, anytime my 10-year-old said something, him and Ian, really the middle one too, like when they come at me randomly and want to talk about something, it literally is God using their mouth to say whatever it is, whatever I'm thinking about, worried about, concerned. They will come to me right at the right moment and say exactly what I was thinking about. And when I think about all the times where you think about as a mom, is it working? Are they listening? Is all of this in vain? I can't see the fruit of my labor. I've been trying all this time, Lord, to be what you want me to be. I will hope that I'm setting the right example, even in my imperfections. I would hope that I'm pouring into them what they need to be poured into them. And God will bring it back every single time. Their little kid Bibles that they read, and I randomly catch them reading them, or them quoting scriptures to me. And I'm like, Lord, I needed that today, because this is the day I'm questioning everything about motherhood. Am I doing it right? And are they going to be okay? This world is not what it was.
It's not.
And then I think about how our parents had to have felt when they was telling us the world is not the same as it was when I was coming up. And now I feel that exact way. When I was a teenager and going off to school, we had things where you're like, a little crazy, but not like it is now. Now I'm like, no, Zora, you don't understand. The world is gone mad.
It's gone mad, I tell you.
No, you don't understand. I need you to get it. And she like, oh my God, it's not that deep.
Because that's her norm.
That's her norm.
Yeah.
The things that she sees on social media, the conversations that are being had about what relationships are, what they aren't, what they're supposed to be, what they're not supposed to be. And I'm like, Zori, that stuff is wrong. Don't listen to that. That stuff is, if you listen to that, you'll never be married. Because according to social media, chapter 12, verse 2, everybody is supposed to be perfect and always operate perfectly.
Or you're supposed to be an independent woman.
I
It's
don't
like,
want no
how do you be
independent
independent?
woman.
I'm
and
over
married?
it. I don't like,
How do you do it?
send help. Send help.
Smoke sick, but you know
Look,
what?
I'm going to shut up and listen. I'm not going to talk bad.
But
Just
you know what?
come,
You said
help.
something
I need
too,
help.
Tiara, that caught my attention when you said that you didn't know that you have the patience because you be ready to just bounce. That may be something that God is working out of you to prepare you. Because you ain't going to be able to just...
You can't bounce unless you got
can't
good
bounce.
I mean, I'm
lawyer
not gonna
fees.
bounce.
I'm just saying, you got at least you got.
Look, don't be saying that so my husband can be like, oh, never mind.
No, because she got friends like us that's gonna be like, Tia.
No, okay, you gotta sit down.
No, but I really do. I really try really hard.
I'm proud of you, friends.
Growth.
I try really hard. I give it my all.
As you should.
And I'm
sometimes.
praying and I'm fasting. So when I tell you, good day, sir, I mean, good day.
I know that's
Because I
right.
done gave him my all. I loved you with all my heart.
From the beginning.
Do you have any other questions before we start closing out? I know you had some questions.
Let me see. Because I was looking at my questions.
Because what I just thought about, we didn't speak specifically about losing ourselves, but I think
But
every
it came back around. It came back around one time.
Yeah.
which is okay. I'm glad.
it's
I'm
the
glad
flow.
that we
Yeah.
didn't just stick to that. I think everything that we just talked about in our episode today goes back to what we can do to begin to find ourselves. It's the communication. It's the having the inventory. It's the what do you value? The routines. I think a lot of that circles back. I just love this whole.
You really be listening.
I do.
And you can like connect, like two.
Yeah.
Because I be thinking.
That's a gift.
I be thinking a lot.
That's a skill.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
seriously.
It is.
That's the thing.
It all tied it back.
It does.
Man, what did you think? Did you have any others before?
No,
we
I
close?
mean, I hope that y'all got all the wisdom, all the gems that were dropped here, whether you single, married, divorced, widowed, sick and tired of being sick and tired, whoever you are, even if you're a man that's watching, just to hear things from these women's perspective. I hope that y'all have got something from it. I've learned a lot. I just want to know, for our audience, for whatever God has on your heart, what is the one final thought that you would like to leave our listeners with about this topic of being a wife, being married, being in covenant?
Look at your camera. That's all I'm gonna say.
And look
What's
at your
my
camera.
Which one is
What's
mine?
my camera?
What?
You've been looking at me the whole time, E.
Oh,
I was
okay.
never looking at the camera. Oh, that's four?
Yeah.
So who
We
going-
probably should have said that at the beginning.
Who's going first?
I'll go first.
Come on.
My takeaway would be it is not a sin to think of yourself,
Ooh,
to prioritize yourself
that's
and
to
what
me.
you need. It's not being a bad mom or a wife if you just consider yourself. If you can't do it daily, at least bi-daily. Like, take inventory to say, dang, what have I done for me? Even if it's something as simple as go and get a coffee, go and get your feet soaked or your nails done or your lashes. Just start thinking about yourself when you pulling your kids' clothes out for the week, because we get ready for the week on Sundays.
Same.
So if you pulling your kids' clothes out, if you know it used to make you feel good to get dressed up. If you know it made you feel good to keep your nails done and, maybe go have lunch once a week, find a time on your schedule and do that for yourself. It is not a sin to prioritize and just consider your own well-being.
I was giving you the
Gun fingers.
gun fingers.
Damn.
Cause come on,
So good.
come on,
That's my takeaway.
She was talking to me.
in me.
I'm on the panel, but I needed that. My God.
You reminded me. You is smart. You,
You
is
is
kind.
kind.
You
You
is
is
important.
important.
That's what you reminded me
Oh
of this
my
man.
gosh.
That household is
Erica.
not going to function.
You just told me.
If you
that.
at your best, that household is going to function like it need to function.
It is.
It's going to
It
function like it
is.
needs
That's
to
the
function.
takeaway right there.
Yes. But you have to be
That's
at your
mic
best.
drop.
Because if you have
If your feet is crusty, you can't do your job as a wife and mother. You
Wait
got
a
to go
minute.
get them toes done, baby.
Wait a minute.
mean,
My crusty
sometimes.
feet will still do her job. You understand me? Crust and all.
whatever, if you got to go get you a Starbucks or whatever your zhuzh is, your tea, your thing that gets your mojo going in the mornings to make you feel good, even if you got to listen to a little ratchet music, whatever your vice is to get you going, don't be so hard on yourself. Because as your children grow and evolve and leave, you still need to know. You're going to need to you're going to have to reintroduce yourself to yourself if you didn't even get to know yourself throughout all those years.
All right, episode over.
Listen, seriously, that
She
was
said
a
it all already.
mic drop, and it's
What
done.
about you, CJ? What's your final
No,
thought?
seriously, I thought we were like closing. 'cause
No.
that was it.
You don't
No, we
get
want
away.
your final thoughts
You
now.
don't get
was
away.
it.
We want to know what your final thought is.
Well, listen, marriage is a beautiful thing. It is getting such a bad rap. It's getting a bad rap because everybody is so impatient. Everybody is so unloving. We just, I think the self-love thing is kind of getting,
Come on.
it's giving selfish. It's giving lack of patience. And I think that it's starting to take the term and it's making you, it's creating something that God didn't want it to be. Because yes, we should have self-love, but now I believe it is starting to create walls to where you're not being able to still be giving, still be loving, still be kind, still be gentle, because everybody's like, well, it's my self-love, it's me, it's for me, it's for me. And it ends up ruining relationships and not allowing you to stay in the role that God is placing you in. So I just want to speak up for marriage. Marriage is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing when you have a companion that you can wake up to, argue with, and then come back and just know that that love is still there and that they see you flaws and all and love you in spite of, and they still want to see the best in you and they want to see you grow. And then you end up being able to grow generation, and generations are to come from that love. It's a beautiful thing. Is worth fighting for. It is worth all the things. It's worth every argument. Because in every argument, there's always a lesson. There's something that you've grown from in those hardships, in those arguments. It's a beautiful thing, and I believe that we need to get back to love, and get back to the unconditional things of love, get back to God's love. So I'm just pro go for it.
Me too.
I'm glad you stopped there because I was sit over here.
Go for it.
Now you was trying to cut it off and we would have missed all that.
That
Oh my
was
God.
no,
That was beautiful.
I had to hold my
Somebody
breath.
got to speak up for marriage.
I felt the cry coming.
No,
I
seriously.
think you folded first.
No,
I
I'm
won
still
this.
dry.
I won this one.
I'm still thugging.
Ooh.
You're the rapper-upper, aren't you?
I think I'm the rapper-upper. I
Okay.
was literally just thinking, who's the rapper-upper?
So, for my single sisters out there, I don't want us to get weary in our waiting. This is the perfect time that God has given us to do whatever it is that he's called us to do in this season. Just because the people around you are getting married, it's not that you're not good enough. It's not that you haven't learned something yet. It's just not your season, because there is grace and there's beauty and there's work in this season.
Come on.
And I've been very anxious about the next season, and God continues to have to pull me back and remind me that there is a lot to do in this season.
That's good too.
The time that I gave myself when I was much younger, of when I thought I was going to be married, when I look back over my life and where I am now at 33, I don't know that I would have been able to do a lot of the things that I've done. And it's not to say that I'm not going to accomplish even more in marriage by the grace of God, but now that God has given me the foundation, and everybody may not need that. Some people probably could have gotten married at 18, 20 and still fully catapulted into what God's called them to do. But I think for some of us too, God needs you to lay the foundation of who you are and what he's called you to do, and the gifts that he's giving you, and the purpose that he's giving you, and the assignments that he's giving you, so that when you meet people and when you're dating and when you partner, you know, you can more easily discern this is what our purpose is together. But if you're not doing anything, you don't know what in the world we are put together to do.
Amen.
So just take full advantage of this season. There's so much beauty in singleness, just like there is so much beauty in marriage. And just trust that what God's plan for you is the best thing for you. Whatever that time is, whatever that looks like, whatever his plan is for you, that's what the best plan is. Whatever his timing is, that is the best timing. So don't get ahead of him, and don't give up on marriage, to Ciji's point, while we're waiting, because we're tired of waiting. hang on to God, get close to him, because your prayer life gonna have to go to a whole nother level when you get married, as you've heard.
Oh, my goodness.
As you've heard. As you have heard, it's a whole new assignment and a whole nother level of work and responsibility. So let's continue to steward over the season we're in now in preparation for where God is going to take us. And he's good either way. He's good while we're waiting, and he's good when we get there.
Come on.
Man.
Because he was already there.
He was already good.
Oh my goodness. Man, this episode was so amazing.
Man.
I don't want to stop talking. I don't want to leave.
But I gotta go.
So, oh my goodness. What do I leave the people with? Healing is on my mind. Heavy. Healing is on my mind. And to what we talked about earlier, I think it just takes individuals in the marriage to heal so that we can be one and whole together. I think it's important that I not look at my spouse to just be my healer and to just be all of those things that I didn't receive. Daddy wounds. But I really think it's important that we seek healing. And one thing about healing is that it's ongoing.
Yes.
So just because we think that we're working on ourselves in the marriage, that's going to just be a one-time thing. Just like renewing the mind, it's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing thing. I think in our marriages, it takes the same amount of work. We always talk about healing. And I think we're missing the part where there's also healing in marriages too, whether on either ends. And that's what I leave y'all with. Work on healing from the inside out. What is your heart posture like? Are you prideful? Are you jealous? Are you not kind? Are there things that are in your heart that you have to work out so you can be all you can be and do all that God is calling you to do? It's a look at self, not always pointing the finger, not always placing blame, like you're the reason why. No, it's not about that. It's not about that. I think we just have to shift it and start taking more of a look at ourselves, not in a selfish way. Because I think you on to something about the self-love.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the time we say self-love isn't selfish, which I do believe that, but sometimes we just take a little bit too far when it's always me.
Everything
It ain't about you.
balance. Yes.
There has to be a balance. And I'm learning that I got married really young. So my 20-year-old mentality versus, my 32-year-old mentality is different.
It's different.
It's night and day. And I continue to have grace not only with my spouse, but with myself, because I am continuing to learn. We're continuing to be different. My circle, even my friend circles change. All of those things have changed over the years, that they're more healthy. And I thank God for that.
Yes.
Because he's the center of everything. So before we do leave, I'll let you go first, Erica. Do you have any, how can our guests keep up with you? And do you have any projects or anything that you want to tell us about? Or tell them about?
My platform, social media platforms, is Woman Postured, where I am geared or going more towards these types of conversations, because I don't feel like there was enough out there when I got married so young. So that's what Woman Postured is about, seeking and finding yourself. That's exactly what it's about. My real estate and business page is at the Erica Dunbar. I do have some stuff in the works that I'm planning to come out at least before the end of the year, but I haven't put anything in stone yet. So just follow me on those platforms.
So do you offer any courses or anything with your...
So that's something that God has been pulling at me, and I keep... So when you said
I'm pulling on you too.
Lord, come on, Lord.
We all tugging. Come on.
So I do want to start offering at least one-on-ones with people, especially young couples or couples, even if you're not just young, but have just gotten married and wanting to talk, those type of one-on-one things, because to have access to real information that is going to give you an understanding of what marriage should be according to the Bible, not trying to pull it apart, not trying to be trending, but just some real information, old school, more old school than new school.
Yeah.
Well, y'all make sure y'all
More
tap in
old
with
school
her.
than new school. Now
Yes,
that's something.
more old school.
We
than new
need
school.
'Cause it's
it.
new
We
school.
Yeah.
need it.
I
You
agree.
have everybody in your marriage is new school. Shared marriage. What is that?
Polygamy. What?
I can't.
She said shared marriage, polygamy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We don't
That's
do
a
that. We
name?
don't do that over
Oh, they're
here.
doing all kind of things.
We don't subscribe to that over
We
here.
don't.
Y'all so
we don't.
aggravating.
Ooh.
It's giving very okay.
Like, give it
It's
there,
getting
I'm not
nasty,
sharing.
and we don't
Making up
subscribe
stuff.
to
Yeah.
that. What about you, CG?
Stuff.
How do we keep up with you? Welcome back. I'm so happy you came back.
Listen,
We
okay,
didn't run
so
her
I'm
away.
still working on the things I was working on last time.
And that's okay.
That is okay.
Giving myself grace. But yes, I am starting my youth coaching, Cocoon TLC. There will be social media handles coming out soon, but you can follow me personally you can look me up, Ciji Buchanan. That's at Mrs. Buck 06. This year I got married.
Period.
Yes. So that's where you can follow me. But God is also laying on my heart. I have a heart for marriage. Like I have a heart for helping women and wives. And so I have little group me's and little groups where we support wives. But I'm really going to listen to God and follow him and see where he takes me with
Yes.
helping marriages and wives.
Collaborations always
I was
help
just
too
gonna
when you starting off. A collaboration would be wonderful.
'Cause that's
just
really what
a
my
joint
heart is.
pop
I
off
love it.
event, and then you know.
do
what
I
I'm
hear
saying?
like
That
a
helps.
marriage retreat or there's
Something.
something?
Marriage
Something,
retreat?
something is
I'm
something,
serious.
seriously, because
Marriage
that's
retreat.
the
And y'all
same.
have the same amount of years of marriage.
It's
Yes.
crazy.
That's
Her son is
You know what I'm
13 and 10, just like mine. 13.
Well, I'm
Yes.
coming to whatever y'all host.
crazy.
it
so
sounds like alignment to me.
invite me.
I mean, and accountability, because then you can't be like, oh, I just.
I know. We
Yeah.
just said that. in the
Yep,
podcast.
y'all definitely need to
man.
make sure y'all connect.
It's out there.
Connect. Yep. Man, y'all are some amazing women.
Y'all too.
And I am very
Y'all
thankful that y'all have graced our platform. One thing that me and T continue to say is we want to hold integrity of our
Yeah.
platform. And if it don't align,
We will decline.
we will.
I love it. I love it.
we will decline.
I was just gonna say card decline real quick.
Amen.
And y'all just came and brought some very spirit-filled, realness
Yeah.
to the conversation. And that's what we want our Real Refined fam to have. So y'all, thank you so much.
We thank God for y'all, and not just for y'all's voices, but just y'all's friendship. To be
Yes.
in friendship with y'all. Y'all are amazing women to know, and I can't wait to see what y'all do with your platforms for
It's
marriages.
gonna be powerful.
Because we need it.
Yeah.
We do.
We need it.
We do.
Us too, huh?
Yeah,
I know.
thank y'all for speaking up. That's all right. Y'all can need it and provide at the same time.
Yeah, we could definitely drop some information, some. Hey, I've been there.
And we need voices to speak up, not just for marriage, but for marriage the way that God intended.
Intended.
Not marriage the way we just
Absolutely.
want to throw stuff together and do stuff, but marriage the way God intended. So I'm very glad that y'all came and lended your voice to the conversation. Thank y'all so much.
I can't wait
Thank
till
y'all
y'all
for
come back.
inviting us.
Come back. You
Just
hear?
so
The
too.
invite.
Episode
But-
2, stay in your role.
Yeah, we're gonna need a part. I thought about 3 things. I was like, oh, that need to be an episode 2.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let your husband stay in his role, part 2.
Oh, you want to be in my business so bad.
He's not your savior.
But you know
That we keep talking about that. I think that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
I can't wait to talk about daddy wounds.
Oh,
Child.
episode 3.
Episode, another one.
Another one.
And
All right, y'all. Man, thank you, ladies, again. And Real Refined fam, as always, we love y'all. We admire y'all. We really enjoy having y'all a part of the fam. So until next time, bye.
Bye.
Never gonna give you up.